quiet. Wow.
Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome to Starfish Mission. We are a hub for the blockchain community. Good turnout, okay. It's so great to have all of you here. Just a little bit about the space. So we opened our doors in April. We're a community focused on blockchain and Web3, decentralized technologies. We have a co-working community in the space, so if you're looking for a desk or an office or any kind of workspace solution, come talk to us after the event. We also do a lot of community events, mostly with an educational focus. This is event number 78 in 4 months, so I've seen some of you guys here before at other events. Some of you are new, welcome. And we have a bunch of peer-to-peer learning groups where people meet and they teach each other stuff. So it's decentralized learning, or, well, they're autonomous learning groups as opposed to centralized top-down learning groups. We have a few groups. Our biggest one is Solidity Saturdays. I think I'll give the mic over to Matt, and he can tell you more about that.
All right, give it up for Alicia. Thank you. So on that note, I'll talk about a little something that we're launching called Distributed Saturdays. So we had an event called Solidity Saturdays that we've run for the last 6 months to, I guess, help get more Ethereum devs, because I felt like that was the one thing the world was asking of me. And I think we did a great job. We also realized, running a protocol agnostic space, that was really kind of narrow in focus. So we're opening up Distributed Saturdays, which will be pretty much any protocol somebody wants to kind of take up and start getting some inertia going around building knowledge in the development community around them, as well as more intro to blockchain information. So Anne-Marie over here will be running Blockchain 101 workshops, and that's going to happen at the Palace of the Fine Arts on September 8th, in line with the Founder World Conference. So I would say just Google Founder World Distributed Saturdays. You'll find it. If you have trouble, come find me. I'll be around. And with that, I'd like to welcome Charlie Lee. I'd like to help welcome the Lumios team and the Tulip team. Brian, I'll pass it off to Brian now. Seems to be the orchestrator. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. All right, thank you so much for hosting this Starfish. It's been really great. Tonight's really exciting. This is the first time we've done this. If you guys don't already know me, I'm Brian Haupt. I'm the co-organizer of the SF Blockchain Collective. We host a number of different kinds of events, basically anything in regards to blockchain technology. We're basically a blockchain education advocacy group. G is not here. He's bringing us even more refreshments and drinks for later on. But he will be here too as well. If you guys have any questions for us, we will be around. And we also run SF EOS because we're fans of EOS. But nonetheless, nonetheless, I want to introduce the panelists. Come up in any order, but let's start off with Happy Money Man, I guess. So this is a YouTuber, and we're going to give all these guys a chance to introduce themselves right after they come up. We've got Heidi Yu of Boost Insider. We've got Ali Ayash of Lumios, and we have Charlie Lee, aka Satoshi Light. Can we get a round of applause? Thank you. Feel free to come. Yeah, come on up, guys. Okay, so this is how we're doing this tonight. So we've got a bunch of entrepreneurs with startups that are going to be coming up and pitching to you guys, as well as our panelists. And our panelists are going to use their expertise and experience to basically share some wisdom with them in regards to their presentations, as well as what they're doing and maybe some thoughts they have for not just them, but for all of us. So basically just sharing some wisdom tonight. And without any further ado, let all of you introduce yourselves. So feel free to take 1 to 5 minutes to introduce yourselves and what you guys are doing, and how to get a hold of you guys if you guys want to have people follow you on social media and such.
Cool. Nice to meet you guys. My name is Brandon Parker. My YouTube name is Happy Money Man. What I do is I'm a DPoS advocate. So I'm a Steemit witness. If any of you have heard of Steemit, I'm one of the delegated miners for that blockchain. And then I'm also part of the media team for EOS. So my goal is to provide transparent coverage of the block producers because that's one of the really important wings of any delegated proof of stake chain. So I work heavily with Steemit as witness and with DPoS and with EOS, and then I'm part of a couple projects that are launching on EOS as well. So that's my general background, and I'm full-time in the blockchain.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Heidi. Okay, how many of you guys are developers here? Content creators. Content creators have more than 10,000 followers on any of the social media channel. Okay, cool. How many of you are working on blockchain projects here? Ooh, cool. Okay, this will define how do I introduce myself. So my name is Heidi, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Boosto. So Boosto is a dApp store for creators. That means we wanted to be the competitor of iOS Store and Google Play. That's my own blockchain projects we're working on. And before this one, we're the venture-backed startup company here in Silicon Valley called Boost Insider. So we have the search engine called SocialBook. It's for people looking for influencers, content creators from YouTube, from Instagram, from everywhere. So we give people how much do they worth per post. We do have a lot of developers using our social book to look for influencers. So this is how we started with. So that's Boosto. So now we provide the protocol. Developers can use our protocol to make their own dApps, and content creators grab the dApps, customize it in their own way and use it with their followers. So they can get shares with developers who are making it, instead of developers are sharing their revenue with iOS Store and Google Play. So that's that part of my stuff. The other one is I'm also a content creator. My channel on YouTube is Crypto Heidi. I interview a lot of cool projects. So if you're here today, you want me to interview you later, definitely just come over to me. So Crypto Heidi, if you guys want to watch my interviews, that's where you go.
Cool. My name is Charlie Lee. Anyone who doesn't know who I am? Okay, so I'll tell you. I created Litecoin in 2011. Is that Carrie there? And I worked at Coinbase as the director of engineering for 4 years. Left last year, and I'm focused on Litecoin now. I'm managing director of the Litecoin Foundation, focused on Litecoin adoption and development. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to have our first Litecoin Summit in South San Francisco. So you guys are all welcome to come check it out. It'll be cool.
Hey everyone, my name is Ali Ayash, and I'm the CEO of Lumios. We're working on updating the way we do online data sharing on top of the blockchain. We want users to be able to own their data, control its privacy, and be able to make passive income on the side from their data. We're a blockchain startup building on top of the EOS blockchain. We also are in this co-working space. And first and foremost, though, I'm an engineer. I'm a software developer. Most of my experience has been in Silicon Valley companies. Work at Google, Amazon, and recently started a blockchain startup. Like after I left, I started a blockchain startup, BToken, as lead engineer over there, and I wanted to get the expertise of developers and Silicon Valley to the blockchain space. So we're also trying to build some developer communities around blockchain here. Right now we're focused on EOS. So we're building a small EOS community in San Francisco. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Okay, so this is how the rest of the evening is going to go. We've got as many as 8 different presenters coming up. They're entrepreneurs, they've got startups, whether it's pre-funding in any way, shape, or form or not. They're at different stages, but all of them have a great blockchain concept. And we're going to get started in just 1 minute. I just want to also pitch out that if you guys came in early and you didn't get a raffle ticket, we're also actually raffling away 10 tickets to the Litecoin Summit, which again is September 14th and 15th. So that will be a lot of fun. And just to make sure you guys know, we're also, tonight is sponsored in part by the Litecoin Foundation. So that is really exciting, and that is why this event is able to happen. So thank you again, Charlie, for that. And without any further ado, we're going to get started now with the first presenter. It's a duo. It's Andrew Yang and Patrick Walters of Blockfuse. One last thing, it's going to go 6 to 8 minutes, and if you go over, I'm going to use a buzzer like this. That's too long. All right. Show me it goes off.
Should we actually look at this?
There we go. Yeah.
Is there any way we can have you guys sit up? Yeah, sit in the front.
Would you guys like to watch them from the audience perspective?
And then go back and sit down.
Well, you can either move your chairs, or you can watch just the laptop, or you can. Yeah, maybe we should just move our chairs right here. So you can see them and just let them know. There we go.
Thank you for being flexible. Yeah, before we start, wanted to thank Starfish Mission for hosting us. This is awesome, and you guys for giving us your feedback in advance. Cool. So let me know when we can get started.
All right, ready, set, go.
Hi, so my name is Andrew, and this is my co-founder, Patrick, and we created Blockfuse, and our goal is to enable use cases on top of specifically Litecoin and Bitcoin. We started this company because we wanted to create a better tomorrow, a world where people can just get access to this financial network just by simply downloading a wallet, a crypto wallet. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or if you're someone who's homeless on the street. And in order for us to create a world of sound money, we need to create use cases for sound money, right? And we need a lot of it. But before we do that, we have to solve a crucial problem.
So the problem that we run into is that there's a high technical barrier of entry into building applications on top of Litecoin and Bitcoin. It takes a really long time to figure out what tools to use. There's a lot of tooling out there. There's poor documentation on some of it. And some of the tooling doesn't even work. And there's really not a great way to know which one you should try out, right? And developers give up a lot of times due to frustration. And because of this, we see a stifle in innovation. So when someone wants to integrate a cryptocurrency into their system, they can't do it up front, and it takes a long time, so they just give up. And so the solution that we've come up with is called CoinMesh. And basically, it's an integrated development environment for building applications on Litecoin and Bitcoin. And it's also a community of shared libraries. And the community of shared libraries, the reason that that's important is because we want everyone to come together to build some of these core principles in software that all work toward achieving the same goal. So some of the things that we do are we automate setting up your nodes and having the developer get started as quickly as possible, within minutes, as opposed to months of preparation, of very painful preparation. And it's an open source platform. It's self-hosted on your own hardware. So we're not looking to be a third-party service that you have to trust. This is something that you build. It runs on your hardware. We have no insight into what you're doing with it. And it's available right now to JavaScript developers in a full suite of software. It can be used by any language, though, because throughout the entire, basically in the entire framework of what you build, we can enable HTTP layers all the way throughout. So if you want to use Go, if you want to use something else, you can do that as well. And finally, what we want to do is we want to use this to establish best practices in software development and become the industry standard for application development on top of these chains.
So what's our go-to-market strategy? First is to develop an awesome open source community of developers. And then after that, we want to work with these developers to create crypto services, create private IP that we first generate revenue with, we validate it in the market, and then we eventually sell to crypto companies. And then the third one is to offer just a plug-in store to also incentivize developers to continually build tools and services for app development for both Litecoin and Bitcoin. And finally, we truly believe that we can become an industry standard by setting best practices through our open source platform. But let's talk about the market opportunity, right? Over in the past couple of years, there have been several examples of companies purchasing crypto services that have been revenue positive. So what's an example of that, right? We have Coinbase. They bought Earn.com. Earn.com provided a use case for Bitcoin, and they were revenue positive. And so they've sold it. They bought it out for over $100 million, right? And then there's also other examples of Circle buying Poloniex, a cryptocurrency exchange. There's also Shapeshift, they bought KeepKey. So all of these are examples of companies wanting to buy crypto services that are revenue positive in order to bring it to scale to more people. And that's where we feel like those are the people we want to target.
We have a roadmap, and it starts out with really, like we said, building a community and incubating projects. We want to foster a really open, vibrant community. A lot of times you'll see that communities can be against each other in the blockchain space, and we feel like it's better if we work together towards doing that, and we want to help people do that. We have some metrics of things like downloads, GitHub stars, and active members of our community. That's how we're going to gauge our traction. And finally, we also want to build, we have some ideas in the pipeline right now for point-of-sale applications that could bring crypto usage to the masses, basically, on Litecoin, Bitcoin, and the Lightning Network.
Yeah, so let's talk about this point of sale solution. It's going to be our own private IP. We're going to develop it ourselves. And our goal is to hit about like 10,000 users, 10,000 merchants. We want to sell it at $10 a month license revenue. And we also, by 1 year's time, we hope to make about 1.2 million revenue based off that alone. And we have, we're working on relationships, and we have active relationships with merchant processors who are interested in what we want to build. And at the end of it, after we validate it and we earn our revenue, we want to shop it around, sell our IP, and then we want to start that process over again and build other applications on other use cases for Litecoin and Bitcoin.
Cool. And finally, why Blockfuse? Why are we doing this? We feel like there's a lot of developers, a lot of people that come into the space that are creating their own tokens. They're going out and building software from scratch, and they're not working really together on building the core of the technology, which is public blockchains. And we feel that by doing it, by promoting that, we can get rid of some of the hype that comes with ICOs, some of the utility that doesn't come with all the tokens that get created. And like we said, focus back on bringing people together, work on the core of the technology.
And to be honest, to date, there hasn't really been, and from my perspective, any solid use cases for these utility tokens. A lot of them don't even have products on the market, and they're raising millions of dollars, right? But for us, Blockfuse is about creating a better tomorrow. It's building on the world of sound money, and it's building on public blockchains. Thank you very much.
Hey. This was a really good pitch. I just have one quick question. Who's the current competitors in this space?
Yeah, so there's something called Bitcoin, but then they're restricted by their client implementation. So all their tooling services is just restricted to Bitcoin. But CoinMesh, what it does is you can choose whatever client you want, and we'll take it, and then we'll add adapter layers to it, and then you can use that. And so there's honestly not a lot of other competitors. Another equivalent one might be like Hyperledger, but those are just specifically focused on private blockchains. But we're focusing on public blockchains.
Pass the mic. Thank you.
You better be a fan, Charlie.
I am a fan. I tweeted about you guys before, so. How fast can you build an application using your tool?
Yeah, great question. So what we want to do is we want to get down to a matter of minutes before you're actually building features. And we want to do that by providing the plugin libraries so that as you go, not everybody wants to build a wallet, but they need some sort of wallet functionality. So we want to make sure that all that's available up front so that as you go through our wizard of building your project, you can choose the things that are relevant to you, try them out, see if they're working, add features on top of it, and build business logic. We don't really have a great example out there of exactly how long it takes, but we do have some things coming on the pipeline. So.
Okay, cool. So why just Bitcoin and Litecoin?
Can you repeat that?
Why only Bitcoin and Litecoin?
Because those are like they have like a symbiotic relationship. We feel like in the future, especially with the Lightning Network and atomic swaps, I feel like Litecoin is going to be like a first-class citizen on the Lightning Network, and it just makes sense to us to build on public blockchains. Like when you look at Bitcoin and Litecoin's hash rate, they're ASIC script dominant, and then there's also SHA-256 dominant, and so they're the most secure, and I believe the two very decentralized currencies, and so that's one reason.
Yeah, and also, we've been approached by other forks of Bitcoin, but what we really want to do up front is get something out in the market that you can build on top of now, not try to support too much, not too much customization, kind of fall on the convention over configuration approach.
Cool. So one suggestion I have for you guys is, as a developer, you probably have like a lot of questions, right? So if you have some knowledge base, something that included that has a lot of like examples of how to do some certain things would be very helpful, and maybe even like a chat program where every developer can chat with everyone else who's using the program.
Absolutely. We have our, if anybody wants to check it out, check out our docs. We have a Slack community as well for now. So. Good feedback.
So if I'm a 10 years old, how do I understand this? If I'm not,
old?
yeah.
Yeah, you can build a game that works with Litecoin or Bitcoin in a matter of 5 minutes.
You can build a matchmaking system for Fortnite so that you can play your buddies and have real money on the line.
That's cool. That's cool. And what's both of you background in? How many of you are working on this? And what's the progress so far? And what is the next milestone you are focusing on?
I'm like the chief operating officer. I work with just like the business side of things, networking, building relationships, bringing activity and users into Blockfuse. And you want to talk about Google?
Yeah, I'm a developer, been in the open source for quite a while now with JavaScript frameworks, and been in a lot of revenue positive projects. So what was the second question you asked?
So what's the next milestone?
Oh, okay, great question.
How many of you guys are working on this together?
Right now it's the two of us. We have some other people that have joined our Slack to build projects, to potentially build plugins, things like that. Mm-hmm. We just kind of soft launched it with our alpha. We have our milestone set up for our beta release, and we're really marching towards that. So we're hoping to do that obviously before the end of the year. And then obviously, I think there's some challenges with trying to build things and also trying to network and fundraise and do things like this. So we're trying to juggle that.
Got it. Are you guys looking for capital?
Yes, we are. We're looking to fundraise.
How much you are looking for?
We're looking for about like a 500K raise, like pre-seed.
And you are using that for development or team building or?
Yeah, we're going to use a lot of it, a lot of it to work with our open source development community, and work with them and like hire them to build the private IP for our projects. That's going to be one key source of that. Yeah, and we also want to do hackathons, and obviously work with we want to get legal counsel if we need it. And yeah. Cool. Also, like a little bit more about my background. My pseudonym is eCurrency Hodler. I'm like a Litecoin mod, and so yeah, I've been like pretty pseudonymous up until this point. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys' project because I have some personal experience with when I was launching my Steemit node. You can do the build out yourself, and it takes a lot of technical expertise. You can also use Steem in a box, which someone built a tool that will help you, assist you in launching the node in a much easier way. Is that a good understanding, kind of the type of tools that you guys are building for Litecoin?
Yeah, we actually had, we've done a lot of developer interviews with people that are in the space. And one of the first things that one of the first people we talked to said was, kind of like Steem in a box. What we're kind of focused on, I haven't used it, so I can't really speak to it, but what we're really focused on is getting people to be able to build things on top of it. So I'm not really sure if that's what Steem in a box is, but basically a graphical user interface that helps you get started immediately. There's also CLI. You can use the CLI if you want, but we want to make it as easy as possible, as user-friendly as possible, and as frictionless as possible, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think that intermediary area there where building the tools for people to be able to build on top of the blockchain is a big part that's missing. So I love what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right, up next we have Johan of Strong Huddle. I think you're here somewhere, right?
Hey guys, my name is Johan. I'm currently primarily a futures and forex trader. However, I do have a bit of a background in development as well. This is a project that I've been working on kind of by myself. I've been this far, and essentially this is going to be the world's probably like the first, as far as I can tell, one of the first MMOs to have a cryptocurrency as the back end of its economy. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with, say, like World of Warcraft or massively multiplayer online games, but a lot of the most successful ones have very vibrant economies. And these economies are pretty much emergent behavior from the user base that decides, say, like the price of gold, if they're transacting gold to buy items, etc. All these different data points, like how much something costs, etc. It's all one big economy, and a lot of people try to game these economies. I don't know if you've heard of like Chinese gold farming. There are entire industries, multi-million-dollar industries that have been built around farming these games and basically reselling the gold or the items to users for actual cash. The normal stance that these game developers will take towards this type of behavior is that, yes, while you are commoditizing your labor, which is your resource, your time that you're spending on the game, the fruits of your labor are actually the property of the game developer. So you're not really allowed to commoditize your labor and profit from it. So a lot of these guys have to go into like dark markets and pretty much transact that way. What we're trying to do is essentially create the world's first MMO that allows for this type of transactability in the real world to the game using a cryptocurrency, so that there would be, for example, the wallet would, like a wallet created on this blockchain would correspond one-to-one with a user in this game. So they would be able to, you would be able to essentially send any money that you gain in this game directly to an exchange and transact with people on an exchange. So that would basically allow people to profit from economic activity in a video game, which is something that a lot of games, they get to that point, but very seedily, and the developers typically don't allow it to become an actual ways of making money. So I can just see, I guess I can go through this. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with these games, but the actual inspiration from this comes from games like Ultima Online. This was one of the first MMOs that I played as a kid. Came out in about '97. One of the cool things about Ultima Online was that it was a completely open world PvP environment where you could lose everything. So there was a high incentive to stash your gold somewhere from other players. People could trick you, steal from you, and so it was very cutthroat, I would say, as an environment for a gamer, especially a young one like me. Minecraft, not really a big fan of Minecraft, but it did have a few specific aspects of it that I think make it a very interesting game. In that it's procedurally generated, there's no questing or pre-scripted events, everything happens dynamically to the player and they define their own experience. And Age of Empires is like an RTS. I don't know if anyone knows about real-time strategy. It was one of my first real-time strategy games. And it essentially encourages a lot of like struggling for like map control, resource control against other players, just real-time strategy. So yeah, Ultima Online, Age of Empires here. So these are the kind of the key points that we're trying to take from these games. So open world PvP. Player-owned real estate is really huge. Player-governed society essentially is what Ultima was known for. Competition for map and resource control, real-time strategy-based building elements, and Minecraft having the no quest, no scripted events, dynamic player experience. So yeah, those are basically the core concepts that we want to bring into this game to foster emergent behavior, a very organic and natural economy. So when you would come into the game, essentially you would be by yourself with a bunch of like resources and other players that are all competing for these resources. So the incentive is then to build actual structures to defend them. So this essentially models normal human behavior out in the wild, trying to develop some type of, that's where the name comes from, a stronghold. You're trying to build essentially an empire to defend your in-game assets, which you can actually send to an exchange and profit from. So there's an actual very high incentive for someone to cooperate with other players, to engage in competitive behavior, to be able to profit from it. And so for someone, say, in India or China who was working, maybe like 30 hours, 40 hours a week, trying to just play World of Warcraft to generate gold. This is essentially something they would be allowed to do freely rather than behind the backs of the developers. That would be the end game, essentially like emergent behavior that we would want to facilitate so that people could actually make money playing games. This is just a picture. I developed the original engine of this in Python. As many of you probably know, it's not the best way to develop a game that's meant to be multiplayer. So this was just an initial concept that was focused on creating the rule set of the game environment so that the game wouldn't actually be scripted. It's just dynamically generated. We're actually moving on now to a project called Browser Quest, which is an open source MMO, framework you could call it, built with Node.js and WebSockets by Mozilla, actually. And so the reason I did this was because I've been funding the development myself, and one of the things that we didn't want to get too caught up on was the server-client architecture. If that's something that's for a prototype, that's something that we'd like to develop, or already have ready to go and develop on top of, rather than building it from scratch, because it's such a massive undertaking. So this is a multiplayer game. So basically, Mozilla released Browser Quest, which has all the client and server architecture ready to go, built with Node.js and WebSockets. So we're going to be forking that and heavily modifying that into the first prototype of the game. And so, yeah, it's pretty early stage. It's not really, I guess, like a business model. It could be in the future, but this is more of an economic experiment using cryptocurrency and the competitive online gaming space together. So I kind of just want to see where it goes and see how it evolves naturally. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I know that video games and items, and there's a huge need for the blockchain to basically protect the value of people's in-game items, and that's something that there's this giant use case out there. Are you guys, are you building the MMO? Is that where it's going into, or or in-game currency, or a way to put
so it's kind of both.
items
It's
on
going to be the game itself, which will be paired with a blockchain, so deeply integrated, so that a wallet is a user, and there's transactability from, say, an exchange wallet to an in-game wallet, which is a user. So we're creating the game and the cryptocurrency that will essentially be like the in-game gold, which drives the economy.
And why not use, say, Litecoin as the in-game gold and then put a lot of the focus on building that?
That's something that I've considered. It would obviously create a bit of a security risk, though, because if we had people using like Litecoin, sending it into the game, because it's reciprocal, right? You can take money out, send to an exchange and profit from it, or you can send money in, and so you're putting. I mean, Node, for a prototype, Node.js is not really the most secure thing. This would be a very easy game to hack. So I would rather use a cryptocurrency where there was a free market value being established in real time by the players that actually use the game. Whereas if I ask someone to send Litecoin, that's a huge barrier to entry for them, I believe, because they're risking, losing that in the game. If someone steals their actual in-game property that they purchased with that, they've essentially lost that value, or someone hacked their account.
So you're seeing people more earning this cryptocurrency within the game as opposed to bringing outside currency in, and so the loss would be less.
So the typical, MMO jobs that you could do, like for example, crafting or foraging for items or looting them, etc., or PvP, killing people and taking their stuff. This is the type of behavior that you would be basically turning money or our gold into money from. So it's an economic incentive.
I think this is a really cool idea, by the way. I like it. There's several things I'm not quite sure yet.
Sure.
So do you have to work with those gaming developers to do things together?
No, we're a game ourselves. So this game is going to be just like the first prototype of a game that has a cryptocurrency backing, but we would create the game ourselves.
Okay.
So this is not a platform. This is not it's something very open-ended.
No power other games.
This is a game in of itself with a cryptocurrency backing its economy.
So what's your goal eventually?
Like I was saying, I think it would be really cool to see some of the emergent behavior that I saw in Ultima Online, where players would create like mafias to control the maps, because there was an actual incentive to make gold and sell it on the black market. So in this case, they wouldn't have to dive through hoops to do that. There would be an actual incentive to play the game strictly to profit from it, assuming that there's enough interest in the game to generate an actual high enough market cap for the underlying currency itself. So the goal would be to allow this economic experiment to unfold and just see what happens to the actual underlying currency. Because if it became very valuable, then you would see very competitive behavior online for it.
So what's your goal out of today's pitch?
Just to spread awareness. This is actually the first time that I've ever spoken about this in front of people, so just kind of to see if there's any... Thank you.
That's a very good job. So have you ever think about how big is this market?
Well, I know a lot about, I played MMOs since I was a young kid, so I understand the actual economic, again, emergent behavior that can come to these MMOs. Like with World of Warcraft, there were multi-million-dollar operations in China just to extract gold from the game and sell it to players. So it really depends. Like, the gaming market is massive. This would not really be like your high-end, 3D experience or anything. This is a 2D game. So this would basically appeal to more retro gamers, people who enjoy the hardcore MMO scene that I grew up with.
Yeah. Have you think about how do you make money?
Right now the focus, especially because this is open source software, so we can't really make money in the typical monetization sense right now until we build our own game from scratch. And that's why we're doing this prototype to see if it's worth doing. But for example, there would be like transaction fees on the actual in-game items that are being transacted, et cetera. Or if you're auctioning something on an auction house, fee would go to a smart contract owned by the game itself. And that's how we keep perpetually, like if you kill something, it drops a little bit of gold. Where does that gold come from? This is a proof of work coin that has to come from somebody's wallet. So the game itself would hold its own wallet and be able to redistribute out the fees paid by players back into the game's ecosystem.
Yeah,
so the game would be self-sustaining in terms of finances. However, we could eventually profit from it if we developed our own game and our own IP based on this.
Yeah, I really like the concept, and definitely this is early, still very, very early.
Yeah.
Think about some like model later and find team members. Those are so important.
Yeah, we have some part-time developers right now.
Cool, good luck.
That's it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I like this a lot too. I think the reason why you can't use Bitcoin and Litecoin is because you can't print them out of thin air, right? And for this game, you kind of need to print your own money. So my suggestion for you is actually set those rules out like in stone when you launch, how your coin is created, right? How much is created every year. And then the players would basically compete against each other to earn that money. And the way that you can make money is you would create items and you actually sell to players and they pay you the coins that they earned. And then if it becomes popular, then the coin will have a fair market value. And then that's how you guys will make money, and that's how everyone else will make money. So you kind of have to set out the economics or your currency. Like you can't just later on decide to print more, right? You kind of have to set those rules out in stone and then make it very fair, and then just let it thrive and see what happens.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yes. So I have a quick question. So is the currency directly related to the resources that are in the game?
My ideal scenario would be a proof of work coin like Bitcoin or Litecoin, and it could be sent into the game or taken out to an exchange or to a private wallet, or just it's heavily integrated into the game. And so yes, you could, for example, get some of like gold from killing something in the game or another player instead of taking it from them. But all that gold is still a cryptocurrency that came from somewhere. It was generated somewhere. So it's not like we're just generating coins out of the outside of the blockchain within the game. The blockchain itself would hold all the gold that could ever be in the game, and it would be rationed out via natural economic processes.
Wait, so each resource will be its own kind of a currency in its own, and can fluctuate separately.
This game will have a currency like every other game, except that that currency is derived from a blockchain, not generated on each. Like for example, with World of Warcraft, gold is massively inflationary. If you kill something, it generates brand new gold right there. That would not be the case with this game. If that's your question. Yeah.
We have one question.
Crack coin? No, I don't. Oh, Crisis. The Crisis game. Yeah, I do know Crisis. Yeah. I've never heard of that. No.
Thank you. All right, up next we got Javier and Nelson of Travel Blocks. Let me know when you're ready. I'll start sharing. Give me a second.
Actually, it's the other one. No, it's the same stick. Sorry about this.
Which one was your stick?
It's this one here. Well, I'm Nelson. Javier couldn't make it. Sorry about that. And I'm just here to introduce everyone to Travel Block. We've put together a way to bring an awesome team that's been in travel, combined experience of over 50 years, owning and operating various resorts in Latin America, generating over $5 billion in sales over the last 10 years. And simply by selling private memberships, giving people access to private consumer prices, where there's an upfront fee, there's an annual fee, where you get access to your home properties and also able to travel the world in many cases and pay for a week's stay for the price of a night. In many cases. Obviously, travel is very big. We all travel. We all love to travel. The reason why we brought our team to the crypto community is to circumvent a small legal loophole, which is you need to be part of a private consumer group. Traditionally, over the last 40 years, there's an upfront cost of 5 figures and an annual fee of about 4 figures that increases of about 5 to 10% every single year, which is compounded over 30 years. So it's a huge, huge fee. It's a big expense. Now, by simply owning one single token with Travel Block, you have access to our private consumer group. You have access to these deals. There's actually some people in this very room that have actually used the platform. The platform went live about 30 days ago. We're doing fairly well. It's a lot of hard work, but we are really excited about mass adoption. We feel like we're going to bring a lot of new users to the crypto space. A lot of our contributors are really excited about showing our project, our platform to their grandparents, to their parents who don't understand what cryptocurrency is all about. But they do understand that they want to go to Florida. And they've stayed at a hotel where they're accustomed to spending $2,000 to $3,000 a week. And if they can show their parents or their grandparents a week stay for $300, $400, it'll obviously get them very excited. One way that we are looking to use our token in the reward function is by giving users an incentive to actually use our token, opposed to Bitcoin or let's say Litecoin, by using a TRVL token and receiving a substantial reward in a one-directional token that you would receive a year later via an airdrop. That could only be used to travel again. So for example, if you spend $1,000, you get $350 for a vacation the following year. How it works, it's very simple. We've developed relationships. You cannot buy relationships in travel. You can raise $100 million and go to an exchange like RCI or Interval. They will just simply not trust you to build a marketing team or bring them what they believe are real prospects for what they're looking to sell to the public. There's several members and partnerships that we've grown to. We've been in travel, combined experience, as I mentioned, for almost 50 years. The private consumer group has only been around for 42 years. So we've almost been there since day one. These are some of our partners. Our partners, and you notice there's some household names, they come by working directly with exchange companies. If you look at our founders, Doug, Jeff, and Steve, Doug is a household name in travel. We work hand in hand with ARDA, which is the American Resorts Developer Association. This year's conference in Las Vegas, everyone is really excited about bringing new faces to these resorts that are not available to the public. Myself, I've been with the team for almost close to a decade. I'm learning every single day about our platform. There's a couple of things that I didn't know as far as availability windows, also giving access to not only resorts and hotels, but also country clubs, which is pretty cool. We've put together a great team of advisors that are helping us put together our smart contracts. And also the opportunity in travel is obviously pretty dramatic. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. The private consumer group did last year close to $1.2 trillion. And we feel that right now, in crypto, there's really no one bringing a management team in travel with this type of experience. So when you have someone negotiating on our behalf, like Douglas, who's been doing business hand in hand with all the big names for over 20 years, it's an easier bridge for us to cross. Now, why do we need a token? We have an existing working model that we have used to upsell our clients, where yes, you have benefits here in your home, but no one wants to go to the same exact place every single year. So they need a way to see the rest of the world. The token allows us, as I mentioned, to circumvent this legal loophole that was put together when Expedia came to the marketplace. When Expedia came to the travel industry and they said, hey, we want the same exact deal that travel agents have. No one believed in Expedia. No one believed that anyone will ever book a vacation via a computer. They felt, like my parents did a long time ago, you have to go to a travel agency, speak to someone, they'll book your airfare, they'll book your hotel, they'll book excursions. Obviously, 5 years later, Expedia became a monster. The one thing is that Expedia owns most of the OTAs, the online travel agents. Prices are not disclosed, they're pretty much competing with themselves. One thing that I've learned from our platform is sometimes you will see rooms and they're listed as not available. They are available. I was in Consensus in New York at the Hilton where Expedia 3 days prior to the conference had no rooms available. We still have rooms available. There's an algorithm that the OTAs use to see the demand for that city. You see it a lot in places like London, Tokyo, New York, Las Vegas, where if there's multiple conventions, when we get together in Amsterdam, Berlin, and there's 5,000 of us, it's not that big of a deal. But in New York this year for Consensus, there was 3 different conferences going on at the same time, and it's a big tourist attraction, obviously, in New York City. So when you have a huge demand, you have properties like the Ramada, the Hampton Inn, that are $150 rooms, that their prices skyrocket to $600. We found a way to fix these prices long-term, where you're able to book rates through a private consumer group. So we're all buying with tremendous buying power. If you look to book one room, you're going to get a price. But if Microsoft wants to do a convention at the Wynn Casino in Las Vegas and they look to book 1,000 rooms, they're going to get a better deal. What we're doing is we're buying together. We've set the example by initially purchasing over 140,000 weeks for our platform, which we felt very confident because it's a way for us to acquire customers. That's why when we did our ICO, we were giving away a free week's vacation for everyone who contributed north of 5 ETH at the time, which worked extremely well.
Sorry, time's up.
That was terrible.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Caught me a little bit off guard. I apologize for going over, but
All good.
this is our platform, some of our savings. This is a family that saved $9,000 a couple days ago. And thank you. Sorry for taking so long.
Okay. So you have a lot of partners, right? Does that mean you have a lot of existing users, and how would you convert that user base directly to use your token?
Great question. The partners that we're using, those are affiliates, right? Right now, we're currently in the process of purchasing a hard asset that will bring roughly 300,000 users to our platform. We will actually have to purchase, we will actually look to buy equity into our partnerships. The exchange companies, like I mentioned, like RCI, Interval International, San Francisco Exchange, Registry Collection, we are right now, we can't buy RCI, we can't buy Interval, but some of the smaller in the top 5 that don't have millions of users, but a couple of 100,000, that's our primary focus, to speed things up just a little bit as far as our business plan.
Okay. So another question is about the token. I don't understand exactly how it works, but when did you do the ICO?
We finished our ICO about a month ago.
A month ago, okay. So you also are promising that the token will always increase in value based on usage?
The way we've structured the token, we can obviously not promise that the token will go north or south. The way the token is structured, it's by generating organic scarcity. The reward token, let's say this year we use 100 million tokens, and we issue out 35 million tokens in rewards. Organically, these tokens have to be then again used to further travel and will no longer be used again. So it's a way to so-called burn your tokens, but it's simply to, when you decrease the amount of tokens you have, obviously you can speculate where the token can go.
Okay, so from the token itself is considered a security then, right?
No, it's actually a full utility because it would be considered a security token if we were to pay some form of dividend. So now, or if you were to be able to exchange your reward on an exchange, your reward token you will not be able to sell on an exchange, for example. It's only it's a one-directional token that can only be used on our platform. You were going to be able to accept other forms of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, like Litecoin, but you will not get the reward function. The benefit to using our token is to receive the reward.
So tell me again why you need a token. Tell me again why you need a token.
Very simple. To circumvent the small legal loophole and not have to build mega resorts and have sales representative pitch one family after another and acquire 20, 30, 40 customers a day and open the doors to the entire world.
What's the legal loophole that you're circumventing?
The OTA agreement that was set with the travel agents that Expedia just piggybacked the same exact agreement that travel agents had 40, 50 years ago. 1996, Expedia just took on the same agreement. So there's public.
Can you explain why your token can circumvent that?
Because it's a private consumer group. You have to actually own a token to go on the platform. For example, if you joined our Telegram, you get $5, right? So once you have $5, all of a sudden you have access to the platform. You can't go too far with $5, but it's a way for you to gain access to our
So
place.
you can do the same thing with just a private membership, right?
Correct.
So you don't need a token.
With private now the benefit for the token is to make it very cost effective. You're talking 14 cents instead of $14,000 to have access to a private group. And without the annual fees. There's no annual fees.
But that you decide yourself how much you're going to charge for your membership.
Correct.
So you don't have to charge.
Based on the price of the token. You need to own at least one token.
I mean, let's say you're trying to do this without a token. Let's say you're trying to do the same exact thing without a token. Can you do it?
No.
Why not?
Because you have to attract customers. You have to bring customers to your website, to your platform. How are you able to market to a
So you're using your token just as kind of like trying to market, right? Trying to entice people's greed that the token value will go up, so they'll come to you. In terms of like technically, you don't really need a token.
It's to attract a new consumer group that has never been seen before at our properties, which is 18 to 35-year-olds that are able to walk into our properties and perhaps purchase inventory at some of our partner properties.
My question is like, technically you can do this without a token. Right, so you just have a private membership group where people buy your membership, and once they're in this group, then they get access to your deals, right?
Well, when you speculate on let's say the price of the token going, where you're able to buy X amount of tokens today with the hopes of it going north later on, based on the fact that you believe in the management, you believe in the industry, and that people will actually use the token today. So that's the big difference in us being able to take 600 million tokens and eventually decrease the total supply, where now the demand will increase and obviously the supply will decrease.
Yourself to decrease in supply and to try to create some value from a token that you kind of printed out of thin air, right? So that is fine. I mean, that's if you call that out, that's what you're doing, right? On the technical side of things, you don't really need a token, right? You can do your whole business without a token, but you're using the token to kind of do more marketing, also to raise money.
Marketing for sure, and also for security. There's over $2 billion in fraud every single year, where hotels take that into account as far as one of their expense, where people are actually booking vacations with stolen credit cards or what have you, where it's a little bit more transparent by using blockchain technology.
Okay.
So that's a big benefit.
Cool. Congratulations with a lot of milestones so far. This is cool. I do have a question here. So since are you guys going to convert this existing business onto the blockchain.
Yes.
So which public chain are you guys going to use?
ERC20.
Why?
That was what our advisors advised us to at the
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
We've been approached. I mean, the last couple of months, everyone from GoChain to RSK mentioning, hey, there's other options out there, but we do not want to risk our future on some, on a new, let's say like GoChain or RSK or what have you. They're still young. And we believe a little bit more in Ethereum than some of the others.
Sure. So what about if Expedia is doing the same thing?
Well, Expedia right now, what they do, they offer prices to the public. If you showed our prices to Expedia, they have a best price guarantee. So if they have something online for $1,000 and we're at $800, you cannot go to Expedia and say, hey, beat TravelBlock's price, because we're private, they're public. So they offer a best price guarantee to all public rates. What we are is just a private consumer group. We just happen to be the most affordable private consumer group currently available in the travel industry.
Cool, thank you.
Can you explain how you plan to make it technically how it becomes a one-way token? Or if I earn these rewards, why wouldn't I be able to go to a decentralized exchange or just trade them?
That's a great question, which Ryan Zarek from 80 Trills, the one who put together our smart contract. And these are tokens that, depending on what you book, from resorts to hotels to cruise, there's a margin between 5 to 35% of rewards. We want to entice our consumers to go and book resorts because that's where the bulk of our profit margins are. So there's a higher reward there. So the token it's a one-directional token that's how it's set up through our smart contracts. Okay.
All right, up next we have Robert Lauder of Mobile Watchdog.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to get my deck up here first. Don't start me yet.
No, I'm queuing you up.
Give one moment, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Robert Lauder, and I'm the founder of a company called Mobile Watchdog. And Mobile Watchdog is a real company. It's got real technology. Just yesterday, I got my 7th patent issued. Took me almost 8 years to get that one issued. And originally, my background, I was one of the companies that built the BlackBerry Cloud, for those of you that are old enough, the BlackBerry web client. We're one of the first mobile apps in the world that could push contacts, calendar, tasks, notes to your phone in real time over the internet. This particular product has as a DNA a law enforcement app that was built on BlackBerry many years ago. And it's been used around the world to convict child predators and stop human trafficking. In fact, I've personally been involved in over 2,000 convictions of child predators around the world. We've worked with Homeland Security, FBI, even worked with the Secret Service in the London Yard. I've worked in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, South America, all over Europe, Mexico, Canada, the United States, probably in Russia, but they just haven't told me about it. Because of the work we've done with this technology, we've been on Dr. Phil and Good Morning America and Fox News and Time Magazine, and so we have a lot of media. So even though there's technology out there today similar to what we're doing, we were the first. We're the only one with the law enforcement DNA and the rich background in the media. The market, the child safety market, is huge, actually, and it's growing. And the problems with the child safety market are also growing. So there's been some recent studies that came out, for example. I think it was based on Fortnite, because it happened to me. I'm just kidding. But addiction is becoming one of the leading issues with children. How much time they spend on games and their devices. And there's been studies that said, the dopamine effect is very similar to drugs and alcohol. And I know we have some past Blue Ribbon. I can't wait to have some because I waited till I was done to do this to drink. But anyway, so the bottom line is there needs to be tools for parents to both monitor and have some control over the activities that their children are doing. You also have stranger danger, as a number of other issues. So as I said before, the technology exists. It's in the marketplace. We say it's a minimally commercial viable product, but it's stable, it's solid, it's been in the market for a little while now. We have thousands of customers. And what we've recently decided to do before we expand our marketing spend and really take it to the next level, and we already cash flow positive, is to bring blockchain in. And we're going to bring blockchain in, and we're going to create a smart contract. So today, the parents can monitor text messages, emails, photos, games, how much time you spent on a game, what games you played, what internet sites you went to, who's in your life, where have you been, for children, and can do things like block contacts, block applications, block places that you go on the internet, receive alerts when a stranger texts their child. And so now what we're going to do is bring the child into the fold with gamification. So the smart contract's purpose is mom and dad get their child's agreement on what is acceptable online mobile behavior. Should you be texting on school nights after 7 o'clock? Should you be playing Fortnite till 2 in the morning on a Tuesday? And so if the child makes an agreement and follows the pattern of conduct and shows good behavior, then they earn tokens. So our tokens will be, we're not doing an ICO, by the way, but we are going to create a token, and this token will be used to pay for our subscriptions and for the child's tokens, which will be their benefits. So there's rewards. Some of the things we'll also be doing is we'll have an exchange, and this exchange will be internal, where we will allow the child to convert those tokens to Starbucks cards, Amazon cards, maybe an Alibaba account, depending on what country they're in. So they can really use those in the real world, at least the benefit of that in the real world, as well as maybe trade it to mom for some more playtime or to be able to download another game. Internet marketing strategy has been very straightforward. We've done everything from partner with governments to schools to church groups, and we've just done all kinds of different types of affinity groups, and at the end of the day, pay-per-click is doing great. We're acquiring customers for about $20 through Google AdWords, and they pay us $14.99, $15 a month. So our ROI is 7 to 1, 8 to 1 on every marketing dollar that we spend. These are real world marketing numbers. This is actual Google Analytics. You'll notice also we have very high click-through rates, and those of you that are in digital marketing and you see a 9% click-through rate, that's very, very, very impressive. That's higher than the dating industry. We also have a 9.2 Google quality score. I personally have never met anybody with a 9. I think I have reasons why our score is so high. One is when a parent is searching on the internet in our keyword categories and they say, how do I see my child's text messages? They have a problem. And that problem is a now problem. So their propensity to click and their propensity to buy is very, very high. And this is one of the reasons I think this is such an important technology, because we get 5 million unique inquiries enough in our keyword categories. There's a lot of activity out there by parents around the world trying to understand what's happening into their children's digital universe and take a look inside there and help keep them safe. This is just a quick snapshot. This Performa snapshot is based on raising another $2.5 million. We just completed about 750 of that. Most of the money is being used only for marketing. About $500,000 is allocated for continued development. The last piece of our blockchain piece, everything else is already built. And then this is based on Google Analytics. It's not based on tokens. It's not based on other types of income. It's simply we pay for a customer, the customer comes on, we have a lifetime value of that customer, which we literally only use 10 months for a lifetime value. So it's very, very conservative, and you can see the adoption rates that we're getting are phenomenal. So it's a very solid business. I do believe that when the tokenization occurs and we're able to get our customers buying the tokens for the subscriptions and giving tokens to their children, that there's going to be, we think those numbers are going to be much, much better. That's it. Wow. That's really good. Thanks, Brian. That's practice with you last time.
Yeah. Well, fantastic project, and it looks like you guys are really far along, a lot of users. The question that jumps out to me is that with so much adoption already, and with it going so well, and with such a high click-through rate, why it almost seems like blockchain is going to slow down the UX on what you're doing.
Well, first of all, that's good. There's a couple of points in there that are worth making. One is we have not yet selected which platform we're going to do the smart contract on for one of those reasons. But a good portion of the information we need to process, we have internally. Some things like a phone number comes in, we don't know who the phone number is. We're going to send that out to the network and ask people, who's this identity, for example. So there's some work we're going to send out, some will be decentralized, and some won't. But the real reason for the coin is the gamification. And we think that's going to increase the user experience, the stickiness, and it's also going to generate more revenue for the company. So I think we're going to be able to handle the transaction load, but again, we have to select the right platform for that.
Yeah.
I love the gamification part. I think it's awesome because it actually brings more engagement from the kids and the parents. Suggestion, don't do a token. You have a totally centralized system. Like, there's no reason for you to do a token. Don't use the smart contracts. You're basically just running a rule-based system on the phone to decide where not to allow the kids to do something. And if they break that rule, they don't get the token. Token is centralized, so just have a database storing who owns how many coins, and just give them more coins if they follow the rules. I mean, there's no reason to do a decentralized smart contract. There's no reason to do a decentralized token because you don't get any benefit from it. It's just inefficient. You have a centralized system, right? And the kid doesn't have to trade a token with his friends or do anything outside of your system. So why do a decentralized smart contract and token?
Well, it's a really good question, and one I probably can't give a definitive answer to since we're still looking at that. But one aspect of the blockchain we are using is, we store this data forensically. One of the reasons we've been able to do all the work we've done is that everything that happens on the device has been admissible in a court. How we've been able to do that has been very, very difficult, very challenging, a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of encryption, and a lot of problems with that, future potential issues. So we think we need blockchain anyway to replace the antiquated methods of storing that forensic information. And that gets into another part of our product, which is really the safety part, not so much the gamification part. But that's an interesting concept, and I think something to think about. The key elements we want gamification, and we want to drive more revenue so the parents have a reason to buy more coins or tokens and give them to the children and get the children to interact them. We'd also like to teach the children about crypto. We like to have them stake, we like to have them hold, and at some point in the future perhaps be able to exchange those for other currencies.
Yeah, and I mean, if you play that a little bit further, because I'm thinking that maybe if you didn't involve blockchain and you had it just coins that you produced and they could use them with their parents, adding blockchain gives that kid the opportunity to put that on a decentralized exchange, or maybe give it to his friend so his friend could buy something from their parents, and there's this whole other outside economy outside of the family unit that maybe it's opening a bunch of incentives that you don't want, where maybe blockchain causes some issues there.
Okay, thanks.
We also think about, by the way, I think I like the concept too, and this definitely can also apply to other verticals as well, not just kids.
Yes.
So here,
company, owner, and employee, and we have a lot of roadmap items. And the original product that was underneath us was actually a business product, so there's a lot of application there.
Yeah. I do have the same feedback as Charlie just said. This centralized, however, but blockchain might also can play a little bit. So is your token, are you going to put the token to the exchange?
Initially, no, but it's a big subject of conversation that ultimately we want to be able to do that. And so, you know, and that's one of the reasons we want to have a token, but we're not using the token as an ICO to raise money. We don't think we need to do that. But if today you were one of the investors, you would not only get equity, but you would also get tokens when we do our token generation event.
So there might be one scenario if you guys have ever think about this. So like if I'm a kid, and I really think this is cool, and I can make tokens, and I can trade tokens, I can exchange tokens. So I can mine those tokens myself and sell those to all my friends. So if that's a scenario, so like, how does the whole thing work? So I'm contributing on my data with.
Well, we are capturing data from the child's phone, and some of that data is anonymously used, and some of the data is not anonymous, meaning that the parent has transparency into this information. And if the child is following a set of rules, most of that's pretty much automatic. Okay, if you didn't use your texting after 7 o'clock at night, that's very easy for us to see. But there are things that are going to happen that we need the decentralized network to help us. And one of our biggest issues is when we have an unknown entity, an unknown IP, an unknown phone number, a text message from an unknown source, and we have reasons that we want to reach out to the community and say, I want you to help me identify this entity. Who is it? Where is it coming from? What is it? And these are we think that the decentralized community can help us solve some of those problems and solve them quickly. Mm-hmm. The amount of computing power that we would need to process every unknown number that comes to every device of every child in our network could be a massive problem. So it was one of the things that got us even looking at the decentralized concept to begin with, if that makes any sense.
Okay, I think my question is like this. So I can fake, right? I'm a child. I can fake. This is my dad.
Yes.
But he's not really my dad. We're just friends. We're faking it.
Okay.
So he pays the monthly subscription with the token, and I'm here to making all the tokens. Then I trade those tokens for somebody else, and I can make money out of it. Can people hack into the system like that?
Well, I think you're probably way ahead of me in terms of figuring out what are the ways the system can be hacked. So for me, these are very instructive questions because this is something I haven't even thought about yet. So thank you for bringing it up, but I don't really have an answer for you.
So I want to emphasize that decentralized system will be less efficient. So if you have a number that you don't know who it is, it will cost you a lot more to use a decentralized system to figure out whether this number is harmful. It's much easier to hit a centralized database and look up that number and see if it's harmful or not. So decentralization doesn't actually solve your problem, it actually makes it worse.
I would say I have engineers that would argue that point, and the only reason I appreciate the input, but I'm not 100% sure I'm in agreement, is the amount of trouble we've had over the years, and it's our business to do that, to find out who someone is. And it isn't as straightforward as you might imagine having that kind of discovery, but especially when you have international numbers and you have other things happening. So, but I think I get the idea of what you're saying.
So you mentioned that you want to use the blockchain because it was going to reduce the effort for things related to forensics and
not the effort. Not the effort, but the immutable aspect of it. So the chain of custody of evidence is a very specific thing, especially when someone's being convicted of a crime. So blockchain is going to make it more
so assuming
immutable.
you go through a lot of compliance and auditing and all that. So what is the kind of data that you think that is currently stored centrally that you would actually end up putting on a decentralized?
So what happens is a lot of this is messaging content, phone logs, and things of those nature.
So it's not like personal information.
Oh, there's some personal information in there, absolutely.
So will it be public for everyone to see, or is it going to be? Okay,
no, it won't be.
So you're going to put stuff on a private.
It is going to be on a private, yes.
Okay, and then the compliance will okay. No, that's.
I think that's about as much time as we have.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the input.
All right, thank you, Robert. All right, we were hoping to have time for more, but we have time for only one more tonight. And I just need to check, because this is someone that was supposed to be in the first 5. Is Garrett Smith in the house? Okay. Moving on, is George Michael, or Michelle? George Michelle? All right, you are up next. George Michelle is with Nomad Science.
Cheating.
In the meantime, by the way, if you guys didn't get a raffle ticket, we'll have just a few minutes at the very end to make sure you got one. Feel free to come up right now if you like to get a raffle ticket. We are raffling away 10 free tickets to the Litecoin Summit. It is the first annual Litecoin Summit. So we'll do that right after we finish up. I think you should go off your laptop. We're out of time. I have to. I've got literally like technically 10 minutes.
That's fine, as long as
I mean, you can put that on the presentation if you like and just use it as a prompt. They don't need to see it necessarily.
I think they do. I think it's yeah, like it's not, like, it's weird. It's like it pretends that there's no HDMI-C connection. It's not architecture. Yeah, I'm trying to get the USB.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I can manage.
Sorry, I was trying to get.
All right, sorry for the wait. Is this a good distance? Let's see. Okay, yeah, sorry for the wait, everybody. I guess I'm the last one. I'm going to try to get through this at a decent pace, I guess. I'm George Michel, the founder and chief culture agent of Nomad Science. Nomad Science is an initiative for intelligence augmentation using techniques of systems thinking, incentive design, social network analysis, and a lot of other things besides. This week I'm calling it an art project for post-scarcity Renaissance engineering. Next week I might call it something else, but I like that for now. But to start serious, here is a real-life alien. The photographer was reassured that it was okay to take a picture of this alien because it was asleep at the time. The picture was taken inside of a space station that crashed in Germany 4.5 million years ago. It's rumored to be from the future. You can see the top of the spaceship, the antenna sticking out in the Berlin skyline there. And here is one of the people in its belly with a VR headset on. Here are some people hacking on some stuff inside of it. Those doors, incidentally, if anybody reads or saw the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, makes the sound that the Sirius Cybernetics doors make in those books. It goes, ah, pleasantly. So some of you might recognize this as C-Base from Berlin. It's a themed hackerspace that has events from all blocks of computer culture and hacker culture, Linux culture, and has been there since 1995. There's 300 people living there, and some of them will swear by this mythos that I've just described to the bitter end. So, ceci n'est pas une pipe. This is not a pipe, it's only a picture of a pipe. Nomad Science with capital letters and Nomad Science with lowercase letters are a little bit different. But let me see, they're pitching something. So what exactly is Nomad Science? Are we a hacker-maker science cooperative? Are we a self-replicating organism inspired by Mondragon? Are we an art and culture project inspired by French philosophy and joie de vivre? Are we a software-hardware initiative in crypto-punk cybernetic revivalism? Or a humanitarian effort for distributed prosperity? Well, all those things, but only the first three are the ones that are relating immediately to crypto. And we're definitely not literally from the future. So the problem is, as we see it, is techno-monopolism. It's a way in which economies of scale sort of have a way of making it easier for departments to communicate and interact with one another within very, very large companies. This is why we see FANG. This is why we see who's left out of FANG? It used to be Apple, Facebook, Netflix, and Google. Who's missing there? Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. We hope to be Amazon's biggest customer someday. Anyway, so the solution would be techno-agglomerism. The idea is to, one of the parts of the problem is that humans have been removed from the value chain. Everything's getting automated more and more and more. So part of the Nomad Science imagination is to put humans back in the value chain. And to do this, we would need a system of reduced transaction cost in federated, agglomerated sort of participation meshes. So the solution here is to evolve a hyper-ambitious, self-replicating, profit-sharing ecology, like Mondragon. With modifications, it's the 21st century and it's not Basque Spain. For a bright prosumerist tomorrow. Does everybody know what prosumerism is? So prosumerism is kind of an evolution of consumerism where you actively participate in like making stuff. It's like what hackers and makers do, every day at places like Pseudo-Room or Noisebridge. So this is kind of an idea of bringing an economy to this. And cybernetics is fundamental to it. Cybernetics isn't AI. Cybernetics is this, a transdisciplinary approach for exploring regulatory systems, their structures, constraints, and possibilities. The rest is a little bit fanciful. But there have been about 3 waves historically of cybernetics. It was started in 1948 in order to help turrets get to their targets. And thereafter, and actually at its inception, it was taken to be the communication of man and machine. In other words, fundamentally to this, it was a mathematician who came up with this. So this is sort of a mathematical syncretism that crosses all scientific boundaries and really just hit with enormous waves in 1948. It applies as much to biology and with additional recursions to institutions or society, in other words, how sociology might look at it, and as culture, how anthropology might look at it. So we're here, at least in our art project terms. We are looking at fourth order cybernetics. And we'll get to that, what that means, well, right here apparently. What is Nomad Science? It's the study and practice of interactive emergent systems. So a brief introduction to nomadic techno-sorcery. There's a couple things, the rest of the slides are just going to kind of go through all these 5 things, but the state of the art, dealing with things that aren't specifically to do with emergence, but a little bit with kind of how we want to approach things at our runway, and the use of emergence or weapons. Culture before computation. So cooperatives are actually old technology. Guilds are old technology. The bazaar, like the concept of having like really rich kind of like commercial districts like you see in East Asia and many other parts. We don't really see that much here. Like we don't have that much. We could. We have enough people, I think, in many cases. Maybe not. I mean, we could have as many people as we want. But all of these produce and promote agglomerative commerce. They're ancient technologies, especially in the case of bazaar. So we start here. The second place we start is operations before infrastructure. We are a distributed organization or decentralized organization. I chose the term agent over officer because it seems to speak more to how we operate. So blockchain, mesh nets, assistive deep learning systems are intrinsic to our weaponry, but not the plane that we're flying. So flying the plane is more important than that. Running lean and transparently, as transparent as possible. If all our books could be on blockchain just to be transparent, that would be fantastic. We're also a humanitarian organization, which I forgot to mention. And now onto the second part. Decentralized equity agency first. I won't name names, but I've spoken to a few people in the blockchain space that they look at companies that are getting VC money, and they're looking at, and they have like a crypto stash from their ICO, and they're poaching talent from other places, and basically saying, run with it. We'll pay you 2 to 3 times as much. You can do whatever you want. But the organization itself is still centralized, and it starts with the money. And this has to do with agency. What I'm sort of supposing, or here in this kind of like thought experiment, is to say that if the board of directors has all the equity and everybody else is kind of like a wage slave, like kind of putting in hours and only making money that way, maybe vestige over 4 years or something as long as you stay with the company, then the ones with the skin in the game, the ones that are making the decisions are going to be the ones, it's going to look like the left. Whereas the one in the middle is what a decentralized organization looks like. The idea here is to take that equity and oscillate it into wolf packs. I mean, there's more to this, but that's good. I think.
Maybe they can clarify.
Oh, sure.
To you panelists.
That's the idea. So it's a good stopping point, actually.
I'm confused. What's the plan? Is that
okay? We're trying to make a hacker maker ecosystem, basically, with workshops. And our first outreach is via a Meetup group here in San Francisco, starting on the 15th probably. If you go to meetup.com and look up Nomad Science, you can sign up. And we'll be focusing on sort of like, I don't know, this image of San Francisco. What was it like 15 years ago? How could we make it better? How can we hack systems around us, like embodied systems? Who do we know? Who do our friends know? Who can we talk to in order to make tiny little changes? I mean, not to take this all over the place, but the goal would be to start would be to have enough people and with their time invested to actually manage and design a themed hackerspace, basically. With the surrounding mentality in mind and the growth trajectory. It's okay. It's completely insane. I know.
Yeah. I'm also pretty confused about what you were talking about.
But if you're confused,
but,
definitely.
I mean, I kind of liked your presentation. Yeah. Do you have any?
I mean, it's only a third of the way through, so like.
Do you have any questions for us? Like, how can we help you?
I do, and it's to say, I mean, like, you know, keeping our books transparent makes perfect sense. Like, you know, reducing compliance costs by having you know, a very small number of people write smart contracts. I don't like. You know, my head is like in terms of the blockchain space, because I don't work directly inside of it, is sort of like, you know, back in like Siraj Raval's like decentralized applications and then early Ethereum, and then kind of seeing all the compliance system jury-rig itself on top of this decentralization project. It almost boggles my mind. It's like, to do an ICO now costs $10,000 to do. To write smart contracts, you need like endless reams of programmers grinding on something, just as in the old economy, just like JavaScript developers did 10 years ago. This idea is to take the smallest number of people working in a very targeted way towards an organization, a starfish organization that is fundamentally decentralized from the bottom up, from its inception forward. What is the best way to accomplish that? What is the best combination of technologies? I've thought EVM, holochain, you know, some sort of coin, depending perhaps an internal stable coin, which would make circulating monetary dollars stably within the ecosystem makes sense. But that would be the question.
So you're creating kind of like a maker space, right? For people to join and kind of hack together? Or?
Yes, this would be part of this. The humanitarian idea, which is towards the end, is basically to give people an intermediate space so that people that from various socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds can work together in one place. So, you know, at the beginner level, there'd be you know, sliding scale payments, you know, people that are possibly ISAs. At the middle level, it would just be a place for software engineers, mid-level software engineers, or especially, in my experience, I found people that are very, very skilled autodidacts that like just can't break into the industry. They would get a sabbatical, and they would pay much less, and their presence would teach people from elsewhere in the community. So that's part of the strategy, yes. Like, not the only thing, not the complete picture, but it is the first place where we would plant our feet down, I think.
I like your passion. I didn't understand a thing you said, but I like your passion.
Yeah, man, you're a hero. You know, I think that the pseudo room is awesome. You're probably involved with them. And
Noise Bridge, but yeah.
Okay, and then like the Oakland blockchain developers, those guys are doing interesting things. I don't know if you're involved with them at all, but I think there's some really cool communities in the Bay Area to get involved with. And then I'm going to give you a personal invite to Steam It, man. I think that you could find some people to talk about that with on Steam It and build an interesting little blockchain community. And Charlie Lee will come in because he likes your passion, and we're going to, you know, good stuff, man.
Thanks.
Let me help you out a little bit.
Okay.
So I have questions for you, and you can only answer my question with one short sentence for each question.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Okay. What is the pain you are trying to solve? What's the problem you are going to solve? What is the problem you are solving right now?
Short sentence.
Yeah, short.
Yeah, techno monopolism is the big problem. But for the hacker space, no period yet, comma. The problem would be micro communities that are too small and keep people that are from different backgrounds too separated from each other, and making one that's a little bit bigger so that sort of more embodied communication happens in cities like San Francisco, very given to micro communities.
So you are helping out with micro communities.
Expanding micro communities into intermediate communities.
Okay, good. What is the solution? So you just said the solution will be the technology to help the smaller community become bigger or expand them?
It's to give a commercial basis and organization to sort of interpersonal creative relationships.
Got it. How big is the market?
How big is the market? $1 trillion.
That's a good one. Okay. how big is your team and what's the background?
Well, I mean, it's a brain trust of about 5 of us now. I mean, we've got like a manifold mathematician, a curriculum designer from San Francisco just sold his boot camp. We've got a counterculture journalist, another mathematician. We're all software engineers.
Got it.
And then sort of like just people that we've sort of ambiently spoken to. Hopefully we meet them. Could meet up.
What is your go-to-market strategy?
I think that starting with something like an ISA is a safe way to get people that don't normally have access to like really advanced like software engineering or blockchain education into a design space, even a themed space. So that's probably one of the first steps.
Okay, what is the milestones you have so far?
Right now, it's mainly about culture building and community building. So if we can get people that, in their free time, I mean, I work all week, so if we meet here, like starting next month, to talk about systems thinking, to talk about incentive design, to talk about building a fundamentally what it means to have a Starfish organization, then that would be where we start.
Got it.
And then eventually, I think that having hands will.
Yeah. Do you need funding?
It would be really, really nice to get, like, in a cooperative capacity, a shared, like, member trust, like shared member capital in a co-op fashion, in a patron co-op type relationship. But I'm not sure if modern times have a better solution for this particular model. It would.
So you don't need funding at this moment?
It would be really, I mean, it'd probably be jumping the gun. I mean, it would be really nice to have that in the, for the co-op.
Cool, that's all my questions. Thank you.
I know the perfect solution for you.
Yes.
You should do an ICO.
I thought everybody advises people not to do an ICO.
All right, thank you. All right, can we get one final round of applause for all of our panelists and our presenters? All right, thank you all so much for coming out. We're gonna end now, but we're first going to do a quick raffle. So if your number is chosen, come find me at the front. Hold on, I gotta get my magical hat, which I do have numbers in. I'm gonna have the panelists bring out the numbers. So again, if your number is picked, come find me afterwards. Don't just run up right now. All right, pick one.
The last 3? All right. 82, 082.
082.
Can I win? 072.
077.
Where to start? Oh, 074. 074.
All right. Did no one win?
Come on up if you win.
62.
Let's shake it up a little bit. 008.
052.
065.
And the last two are 036 and 046. Really? I'm gonna keep going because we're gonna give away 10. How many? We've got 3, 4.
Come up here.
Yeah, just stand right next to me. So it looks like we've got most of us. 6. That's a hard question.
Which one are you?
All right, let's get all the numbers. You hold on to this. I'm gonna do 2 more because I don't think we have 10 winners yet. I think we have a few people. Yeah, 5, 6, 7. All right, we have 032. There we go. All right, we need one more winner, and then we'll be all set. And 022. No? One more. Oh, all right. All right, we're actually good. They won it. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Have a good night. And we will be doing a similar event in about a month, by the way, if you liked this. So thank you for coming. Have a good night.
3, 2.
Hi, how are you?